Good evening everybody and welcome to Manfield in New Zealand for the second round of the GRC Season 8. Hello everybody, and we'll try this again. Welcome to Manfield for the second round of the GRC Season 8 Division 2 Championship. We're here towards the end of qualifying. At the moment we have Basil Ward on pole position. In fact, scratch that, Mick Duncombe has just gone across the line fastest. Scratch that, Mark Gravitt has just gone across the line fastest with a 1:09 dead. So the time's tumbling at the moment here. We've got about 3 minutes to go, and so there are some quick guys still left out there, including current championship leader Thomas Michau, who I believe is out on circuit somewhere at the moment. We'll try and pick him up if we can. Yes, he's in 19th place at the moment. This is the championship leader, the man who won the feature race in Bahrain and could have won the sprint race were it not for a few leery overtaking opportunities. So he's making his way now through the Castrol S's down towards the hairpin, which is very tricky on the brakes. He stays nice and wide, tucks in. He's almost 3/10 down on Gravitt's time as they head out, as he heads out onto the Dennyholm straight. And well, of course, we sort of expect this a little bit because he is carrying 35 kilograms of ballast. He is the heaviest car out there today, so it is understandable that he's struggling a little bit around this tight, twisty, banked circuit. It's probably one of the worst circuits to have your weight on, and as you come across the next sector split, he is still only 3/10 down on Mark Gravitt, I believe. Or maybe my timing is a little bit slow. We'll just watch him across the line as he exits the final corner, see where this puts it. Oh, runs very wide there on that final corner. Comes across the line to set a 1:10 dead, a second down on Mark Gravitt. That's not a good time for Thomas Michau. And as ever then, Mike Wrightson is here with me in the booth. And Mike, this is a pretty twisty race circuit. It's very different to the wide open expanse of Bahrain.
Yeah, you couldn't get more opposite if you tried. Very, very tight and twisty, very technical circuit. I think it really brings out the best drivers in the field. Division 1, it was very, very competitive around this little track, but there's not very many places to pass. You've really got into turn 1 and perhaps into the infield hairpin, and that is really about it.
25th position, Francisco Gutierrez is currently on a lap. If we pick him up heading down into Higgins Corner, this very wide hairpin, or sort of a long hairpin we should say, it's not a tight one that we're used to seeing in Bahrain, and as he comes across this next sector split, he's 7/10 down on Mark Gravitt's provisional pole position time. So Gravitt is looking pretty good to nick a pole position here, because there aren't that many front runners still to go as Gutierrez exits the final corner and heads down the start-finish straight to cross the line now. Is he going to sneak into the 109s? Yes, he is, a 109.8, which puts him provisionally 10th.
Yeah, some good times coming in. It's good to see that Mark Gravitt is so close to breaking into the 108s. Also, we had some extremely fast times in Division 1 down to 107s in qualifying, but we have some exceptional drivers setting those kind of times, but it's looking very, very tight, definitely through the top 10. Let's see, where does the first second cover us down? 1 second covers from pole to 14th, so very, very tight at the top.
Yep, absolutely. Simon Smith, currently in 26th, is out on a lap. He's coming down the Dennyholm straight now, down towards Higgins. and he's been pretty impressed with his lap times. He's hoping to challenge the top 10 today, but that was some bizarre braking from Simon. Seemed to lock up everything he had, and that's going to cost him a little bit of time. I'd imagine he'll be about a second down on Gravit, only 8/10 down on Gravit as he crosses the second sector split, as he comes into the final corner now at Dunlop. Takes it nice and wide and then attacks the apex late. That was well taken from Simon. Let's see if he can creep into the 1:09 9s here, or will he be in the 10s? It's going to be a 10.0, so a pretty solid lap time there for Simon.
Indeed, very good lap time for Simon. That matches Thomas Macau's time, pretty much. So it's a good starting position for Simon Smith. Quite a few of the guys here doing a lot better than expected. See Anthony Jones up in 7th place. So he's put in a very good lap in the Astra for English Racing Knights. Anyone else that we're looking at up here? Matt Adkin has taken himself into 2nd place with a 109.1. And John Gibbons, who's quite often to be found at the sharp end, has only managed to make it in 10th, which is a bit of a surprise. I was thinking he might get a bit further up, but I know John races very well, so I think we could watch out for some fireworks from him.
Absolutely. I think it was Anthony Jones in Bahrain, wasn't it, who was running pretty high up, but he accidentally forgot to put enough petrol in his car, which we had all had a little giggle about, but it certainly looks like he's got hooked up with a lot of pace this season. He's moved to the Astra and he appears to be loving it at the moment. So a 7th place on the grid for his for the first race here today at Manfield. So we will have a shortish warm-up session, and then we will head on to the race, which will be the sprint race of 17 laps or 20 minutes, whichever expires first. I'd imagine... I'm not entirely sure. I think we might hit the 20-minute mark today with lap times of 1:09 9s. Yeah, that would be my guess, but I'm usually wrong about stuff.
Yeah, I think it'll be fairly close, but 20 minutes might just expire. I think we just made the laps in Division 1, so it depends how fast the race pace is, but we might see the 20 minutes coming before the race distance, but hopefully these guys can take it all the way to the laps limit instead, because that just makes it a much better race.
So we're having now a look at the current championship standings and the weight penalties that are incurred by those championship standings. As you can see, Thomas Macau is up at the top of the standings with 35 kilograms of weight ballast and 86 points. And so he's got a 19-point lead over Paul Joseph already at the start of the season. But it is a bit early after one round to be talking about championships and contenders and that sort of thing, because we do have 6 meetings to go after this one, so there's plenty of time for things to change. You can see Bazza Ward there is 3rd in the championship, and he is the highest of the championship leaders, if you will, in qualification. So he's 3rd in the championship and 3rd on the grid, so he'll be pretty pleased that he's managing that 15 kilograms of ballast pretty well. Well, Bazza Ward, John Gibbons, who's currently 4th. Where did he qualify? He qualified down in 9th. So, as I say, this circuit is so different to Bahrain that it leads to very differing fortunes for various drivers. And this is the Manfield circuit in New Zealand. It was built in 1973. In the 1970s, the Manawatu Car Club decided they wanted to build a racing track, so they got a bit of money together and bought some land outside Fielding in New Zealand and built this circuit, basically. That's pretty much how it was, and the track is named after a competition was held, and the clever person who won the competition decided that to combine the name of Manawatu and Fielding to create Manfield. Fairly straightforward if you think about it. It's 1.88 miles long, a nice little short circuit. There is an extended loop, but we're not using that here today, and it's about a 2.5 hour drive from New Zealand's capital city of Wellington. So that is where we are in Simland today, with about 2 minutes to go before the start of this race. So Simon Smith is just informing everyone of how he is desperate to score a point here tonight. Points go down to 20th position, I believe. I'll double check that in a moment. But so there's a fairly large chance Simon can get points, starting from 15th on the grid. So let's watch out for him. It'll be difficult to miss him in his bright yellow and pink, purple. Sorry, not pink. It's purple car in his Skoda. So as if he found the most unattractive car in the field and painted it purple and yellow. That's Simon Smith for you. So with a minute to go before the race starts, it'll be interesting to see how these drivers cope, especially down into turn one. It's fairly open down into turn one, but it's a really short braking zone, and there is no runoff at all. You know, if we see, for example, in Bahrain, we saw Thomas Michau going off at turn one, outbraking himself quite often. If he does that here today, he is in the wall down at the Toyota corner, which is the first corner. So there really is no margin for error here.
No, there isn't a lot of turns like that as well. The infield hairpin being banked as well, so if you get into it too deep, you can actually pop up over the top of it, and you end up going off much faster than you expected because you can carry more speed through that turn. But turn 2 is a little bit like that, even though it's just a kink. The inside of the track is banked, but the outside isn't. So if you try and hang on around the outside of someone there, you end up understeering off the track because you can't carry as much speed as you can around the inside of the turn. So it's quite an interesting little track, and you've got to know where you can go on it for sure. But it has produced for us some very good racing, particularly in Division 1. There's some very, very good racing going on, so I think we're looking forward to plenty of action.
Yep, absolutely. Certainly trains were starting to appear in Division 1 the other day, and as it's so difficult to pass, these sort of train seems to backlog up, and one spin or one incident can cause a catastrophic domino effect really throughout the field. So as the countdown has hit 0, it looks like, who's that missing? Is it Jan Hack has disappeared from the server? I think he may have done, or it's Jan someone, but we're about to move to the race, and then we'll take you down through the grid order. And Nico de Bruyne has just leapt in at the last minute, and the race will be beginning in 30 seconds. So Paul Joseph then, who starts third on the grid, no, sorry, I'm wrong there, that he's just third in the warm-up times, but he is the only man, him and Thomas Michau are the only men who finished on the podium both times in Bahrain, so certainly looks like those two are going to be early front runners. But a lot of people in Bahrain, we were a little disappointed with their pace. People like perhaps Francisco Gutierrez, we expected to be a bit further up. Mark Tiller certainly has been a front runner and title contender in previous seasons. The mod this year, the GRC mod, is quite a lot different to previous years, especially under braking. That seems to be the biggest difference this year, Mike.
Yeah, the brakes are rather more difficult than they were last season. They're more powerful, and it's meaning that the people can lock the wheels up fairly easily. So they're having to experiment with reducing the brake pressure in the setup, but also they need to use proper technique on the brake pedal to prevent the brakes locking up as they approach the corner. So they need to trail the actual brake travel off as they get to the turn. So it's a bit more demanding that way. It's bringing out those drivers who have that final level of control, and they're seeming to be the ones that are finding themselves at the front.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot more. You could get
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
You could get away with in Bahrain to a certain degree, but here there is absolutely no margin for error for braking. Rather, I mean, it's very difficult to get your braking right here, if I can get my words out correctly. So the cars then are out on the grid, and will soon be heading off on their green flag lap. It'll be Mark Gravitt in the red Adieu Racing car on the inside for turn 1, and Matt Adkin has just revealed he believes he's in the wrong position, down in 29th place. Doesn't look like anyone cares at the moment though. The formation lap seems to be heading off, so we'll have to see what occurs with that situation. So it's Mark Gravitt who leads the field away for this 17-lap sprint race here. Second place, and Roland Johansson also claims he is in the wrong location on the grid, so we'll have to see how that pans out. We'll keep running down the grid just in case nothing happens. Second is the Dark Horse Racing car of Mick Duncombe. Third place is Basil Ward in the Oakley Racing BMW. Fourth goes to Tim Spur in the Psycho Racing car. Fifth, that man we were talking about earlier, Paul Joseph. And the warm-up has been restarted because Anthony Jones is up in 6th actually, and I'm sure he qualified 7th, so a little bit of something going on there. Oh, Matt Adkin was meant to be 2nd actually, so being 30th instead of 2nd is certainly something that you wouldn't be very happy about.
No, it is something that seems to happen, that if you disconnect in the warm-up session, it doesn't replace you back in your proper position on the grid. I think it's probably something that we need to see if there's a setting we can adjust to stop that happening.
So as the warm-up is restarted, and they start to re-sort out the grid again, Matt Adkin will be promoted up to 2nd position on the grid. Here we go, the grid is now being reformed, which is good, quick work, and usually the Division 2 races run very smoothly, very on time. A short delay for the opening race here, but nothing too catastrophic, to be honest. So, apologies for a couple more technical difficulties that we're just experiencing here. We'll
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
As quickly as possible, so I'm not entirely sure what you can see at the moment on this live broadcast, which I apologise for, but we'll take you through a little bit of radio commentary. Oh, it sounds like Simon is now back in controlling the cameras just in time. So hopefully, touch wood, that was that noise, that was me touching wood. In the next 10 seconds, we should have no more problems. So the cars head out once again on their formation lap. Hopefully we will sort this out, and hopefully we will be underway racing. And yep, the decision's been made that this is how the grid will line up. So we'll take you through it now. Mark Gravitt on pole position. Second place goes to Matt Adkin. Third is Mick Duncombe. Fourth is Basil Ward. Fifth, Tim Spur. Sixth is Paul Joseph. Seventh place is Anthony Jones, alongside 8th place man Mark Tiller in that painted by a child Oakley Racing Lexus. Ninth, you know when you used to have those paintbrushes and you used to flick paint at a canvas? Well, there we go. Alfredo Chiva is in 9th place, and John Gibbons rounds out the top 10.
Lining up 11th is Francisco Gutierrez for Dark Horse Racing, followed by Alain Cotini in 12th and Anna Griffiths in 13th for English Racing Knights. Ihab Abbas is in 14th for VDB Motorsports, followed by Championship leader Thomas Macau for SRM T&O Racing. Simon Smith in 16th with Aid Randall in 17th for the ERK Lords. Jesper Hagström for TTF Racing is 18th. Followed closely by Jan Hack for Adio Racing in the second Volvo in 19th, with Lara Martinez, the first of the Midnight Racing cars, in 20th.
Nice big grid here today. 21st then goes to the other Midnight Racing car of Jenny Anderson. 22nd, Andy Yates. 23rd is Tyrone Frith in his TTF Racing car, who is of course also the boss. And then we have Olof Michau. And then 25th is Hans Bergander. 26th, and almost in a collision there, was Gary Gray. 27th is Roland Johansson. 28th is another Backmarker Brigade Triad car of Paul Huggett. 29th place goes to Stephen Boniface. 30th place is Mike Ward with a dented back end. So it looks like there was an incident back there. Mike, and another one up further in front, I think, Roland Johansson. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but I'll finish the run down the order quickly. Marco van den Broek 31st, and Nico de Bruyne is our last runner down in 32nd position. So a lovely big grid here for the race today. And as Mark Gravitt then and Matt Adkin side by side on the front row of the grid, waiting for the lights. Here they come then, and we're about to get the sprint race underway at Manfield, and Mark Gravitt hasn't started at all. That's a disaster for the front row man, and past goes Mick Duncombe. I think he's had his pit limiter on. I think he left his pit limiter on. Matt Adkin then has an easy lead into the Toyota turn for the first time. Basil Ward, I apologise, is up into second place. Then it's Tim Spur, and it looks like they've all filtered through there pretty cleanly. Yes, no one has gone off at turn 1, but Nico de Bruyne has started in the pits.
Yeah, so far so good from the Division 2. As they all stream into the infield hairpin. Matt Adkin in leading by nearly a second from Barry Ward, Tim Spur, Paul Joseph, Mark Tiller. Mark Gravitt is finally underway in 6th. He clearly hasn't got the hang of starting the Volvo. Either that or, as was mentioned, he may have left his pit limiter on, and he's got Anthony Jones having a look around the outside. But that didn't work out well for Anthony today. Anthony back to 9th place as they all stream down the final straight into the last turn.
Mick Duncombe spun on the infield. Alfredo Chiva in 7th place is going side by side with Mark Gravitt, and Gravitt might run a little bit wide there, lose a bit of momentum. He has, and this is where the battle is at the moment, because the leaders are fairly spread out. So Mark Gravitt is under pressure from Alfredo Chiva as they break for turn 1, and it's just running wide there. Up in front was Mark Tiller, but they all managed to thread their way through nicely. Mark Tiller's up to 5th. That's a great start for him as they come through into the Castrol S's once again, and fairly well behaved pretty much on the opening lap. Only Mick Duncombe a casualty of that first lap.
Indeed, Mark Gravitt has got his work cut out now, trying to make his way back to the front. It's not an impossible task, and he's one of the fastest cars on the track, but he's right up behind Mark Tiller, who's running very defensive, as he's every right to. Though Mark Tiller's ping rate seems to have shot up, so hopefully he's not lagging around too much in front of Mark.
Yeah, it's up to sort of mid 400 now. Let's hope Mark can keep it all under order, and they're followed by Alfredo Chiva going into Dunlop, and well, it looks like they all got through there pretty cleanly. Chiva got a bit sideways actually. Chiva's going to be under pressure here from John Gibbons, I'd imagine, down into Toyota. He's gone defensive. Will Gibbons fancy a look at the outside? Oh, Mark Tiller's all over the place. He's locked up, and well, I think he locked up. He is warping quite badly there, so it is difficult to tell what's going on with Mark Tiller's car at the moment. Hopefully this won't cause us an incident as they wind their way through the S's now. And yeah, it looks as though they're not quite close enough for the warping to cause a real problem as they head into the hairpin once again.
Yeah, and all that's left Mark Gravett now nearly 5 seconds off the leading cars, so it's cost him a good bit. Elsewhere in the top 10, Francisco Gutierrez has moved up to 9th place, pushing Anthony Jones down to 10th. Good little battle going on there. He's got Thomas McCarr right on his tail, and Alan Cottini has jumped up and bringing Andy Griffiths up with him. So a lot of drivers starting to rise through the field. They have Abbas still in 14th. Let's see who else has moved up. Oh, Jenny Anderson has made a rocket of a start. She's up to 15th place. And let's see who else have we got. Now we have another car, unfortunately, out of the race. ND Yates is out of the race with suspension damage, so that could be a crash somewhere. I'm going to see if I can find out quickly.
Michau has dropped down to 12th position now. He's been passed by both Anthony Jones and Alain Cottini and is now under pressure from Andy Griffiths. So Michau will be having nightmares about these English Racing Knights cars tonight as they make their way down into the hairpin, and Ihab Abbas is not far behind them either. So, and Ihab Abbas spins on the apex of the hairpin. Get out of the way. Oh, he's just managed it. Mick Duncombe had to swerve around the outside. Who's that? Off on the outside of the circuit. That's Jenny Anderson. I wonder if they made contact. Did they down into the hairpin? Yes, they did. Anderson was too late on the brakes and took out Ihab Abbas. That's a real shame there as they now make their way down the back straight once again. That battle seems to have calmed down a bit. The battle that hasn't calmed down is the battle for 7th place. Alfredo Chiva. 8th place, sorry, Alfredo Chiva. Him, Mark Tiller, John Gibbons and Francisco Gutierrez are all in a train of 4 heading down into Toyota corner, and Tiller's gone a bit deep. Tiller's ping is coming down again now, so he should be okay as they make their way now down towards the S's. Chiva is up the inside of Tiller, quite a bit of rubbing. In fact, Tiller locks his brakes up. Gutierrez looks to get the inside, and the cutback is going to be side by side through the hairpin. Now Chiva dives up the inside and is through past Mark Tiller. Gutierrez, though, could take both of them here because Chiva got sideways on the exit, and here comes Francisco Gutierrez in the black and grey car, and blue as well, up the inside into Higgins, and he's not going to make it through quite.
There's some exciting stuff going on though, but John Gibbons on the move as I thought he would be. I knew his good position wouldn't last for very long. Mark Gravett seems to be starting to close up on the leading cars. We're about a third of the way through the race, so he's still got plenty of time left to make his way back to the front, but he's really got to get a move on.
Yep, absolutely. Simon Smith is running in a strong 14th position at the moment, which he'll be pretty happy with. Alfredo Chiva has spun. He is down in 10th position, 11th, and so is Andy Griffiths as well. So I'm not quite sure. I don't think the two were related. I'm just watching a little bit of a replay here. Yep, Chiva had contact with Mark Tiller, spun off onto the infield, and for some reason Andy Griffiths found himself spinning in the BMW as well. So all kicking off down there at the S's at Manfield. All this has promoted our dear friend Simon Smith up to a fairly healthy 12th position, so he's going to be chuffed with that if he can keep that for the rest of the race. Out of the front though, it is pretty dull at the moment. Matt Adkin is leading with Basil Ward under some reasonable pressure from Tim Spur, but nothing he can't deal with. That may develop into a battle a little bit later in the race, as Spur's getting pretty close actually to Barry Ward for second place as they head down into Toyota, and Matt Adkin, we believe, has I'm not quite sure. Yeah, Matt Adkin appears to have disappeared. 1 second while we check this out. He's in the garage and has left the server. So race leader Matt Adkin has... Yeah, that's a disconnection or something. At the final corner, he's just warped off the road. So race leader Matt Adkin is out of this race. So that means that the Barry Ward and Tim Spur battle will soon be for the lead. But that's a disaster. Basil Ward, sorry. But that's a disaster for Matt Adkin.
Certainly is. He's frequently had connection issues, and it's frustrated him before, particularly in last season. He had quite a few, and it looks like the ghost of that has struck again. He's got to be one of the unluckiest racers out there in terms of connection. But he's always very fast, of course, but he really hasn't had the luck for his internet connection. So. That is 7 laps down out of 17, and Barry Ward leads Tim Spur second, and Paul Joseph has come up into third place. Mark Gravitt has just set the fastest lap, and he is starting to close up on these two, and he's nearly within striking distance of Paul Joseph, so I think the fun begins now.
Absolutely, it certainly looks that way. He is steaming his way back up the order as they come through the hairpin. Now Mark Gravitt is in that red and green car right at the back of the train, and he's pretty close in fact to Paul Joseph. The battle of the Volvos as they head down the Denny Holm straight towards Higgins. Will Gravitt look up the inside? He does. He's not going to be close enough though. He'll try and distract Paul Joseph into a mistake. The leaders are coming up to lap Nico de Brunt, but I'm pretty sure they'll deal with that pretty easily because Nico is a very kind and conscientious driver, although they've come across him at a bad time into this final right-hander. So nothing Nico can do other than stay out of the way, which is exactly what he has done. But here comes Tim Spur now on an attack for the lead. He's looking to the outside of Barry Ward as they head down into Toyota. Here we go on the brakes. Oh, Ward moves across a little bit. There's a lot of rubbing, a lot of pushing, and well, that was interesting there. But Barry Ward holds the lead.
Yeah, and Mark Gravitt used that same move to move up to third place, taken on the inside of Paul Joseph. So Tim Spur trying the unorthodox route around the outside of turn one. It doesn't often work. It does kind of rely on a slight mistake from the driver you're fighting. But they're both still on the road and live to fight another day. But Mark Gravitt is now closing right up on them. So it's quite possible that Mark Gravitt is still on for the win of this race.
Yep, quite possibly. He certainly was the quickest man out there in qualifying, hence the pole position. And as they head down the back straight towards Dunlop once again, he's certainly closing in a little bit on Tim Spur. Seems to be a little bit smoother. Spur is locking his brakes left, right and centre, and that's going to be something that's very interesting when it comes to the feature race, of course, is the tyre situation, how well these Division 2 drivers can manage their tyres. But let's focus on the sprint race at the moment. Tim Spur going in very hot on the brakes, and Ward runs wide onto the grass. I thought Spur was going to hit Ward, but now Ward has run wide, so the battle between the two of them is very much on. A little nose up the inside. He's not going to get through there as they make their way through the S's. Barry Ward looking very rear end happy. Oh, Spur very tempted. Here we go. And here's Gravitt as well, and Paul Joseph not far behind to make this a three-way battle for the lead.
Yeah, and looks like further misfortune for Mark Tiller. He's falling down the order, so it looks like he's had another spin somewhere. And that promotes on Anthony Jones and Alan Coutinho up to 7th and 8th, with Thomas Macau now in the top 10. Jesper Hagström in 10th has made his way past Simon Smith.
And here comes Barry Ward then up the inside. Will he look into Dunlop? He will, but he's not going to get through there. Oh, the back end sliding. Can he hold it? He can, but here comes Gravitt. Here comes Mark Gravitt up the inside. Ward chops across to defend his position. That's what I call robust from Barry Ward as they hit Basil Ward. I'll get used to it in a minute. Heading down into Toyota once more. Tim Spur locks up front. And, well, so that's how things have unfolded then. Tim Spur is now in the lead of this race, followed by Basil Ward and Mark Gravitt, and all this is allowing Paul Joseph to catch up, and Ward is on the curbs there, and through goes Mark Gravitt around the outside, inside for the hairpin. Surely no. A little bit conservative there from Mark Gravitt, a little bit tentative wanting to make the overtakes, and that's allowing Tim Spur to get away a bit.
Yeah, the Volvo, of course, this season is four-wheel drive, which does make it a bit easier to manage under braking, but it's still possible to lock it up if you try to bite off too much. I think Mark was conscious there of not wanting to lock it up and slide into Bazza there and take them both off out of the race. So good driving from Mark Gravett, not wanting to bite off too much, and he's still in Barry's slipstream, but not close enough, I don't think, to have a go into turn one this time. Or is he? Look at this. But no, not close enough. But he's got a very good exit. Barry Ward went wide there. Mark Gravett is through, and a very good piece of driving there. I think fooled Barry Ward into running that turn a little bit too hot, and they nailed him on the exit. Very good.
Ward getting very sideways on the exit of that S's complex as well, and going in very deep on the brakes into the hairpin. That's going to allow Paul Joseph a chance to get on the podium once again as they head down the Denny Hulme straight towards Higgins. Joseph isn't going to be close enough, but it's now the battle for third that is the closest. In fact, to take that back, because 5th and 6th, John Gibbons and Francisco Gutierrez, are very close together, as the lead four have sort of spread out a little bit. Let's focus a little bit further back then. Gibbons in the black Psycho racing car, being followed by Gutierrez in the white, blue and black car. He's got a nice toe coming up into the final corner. It's going to be a brave man to stick it up the inside there, and Gutierrez is not brave enough today, and in fact has lost a bit of momentum over that. And back in 10th and 11th we have Jesper Hagstrom and Simon Smith battling to Simon Smith is getting right involved.
Yeah, they've swapped positions a couple of times already, so they're really going at each other back here, both deep within the points. So that far from Simon Smith wanting to get a point, I think he wants to get the 10th place.
Certainly looks that way as they head out down into the Castrol S's. Simon is racing with a gamepad, which I'd imagine makes braking very difficult. Having just had a little drive on the keyboard in the warm-up session, it certainly is very difficult, and that's probably why we see him locking his brakes quite a lot and running a little bit wide, and that's going to lose him momentum. That's a shame for Simon, but hopefully he can pull back in. Jesper Hagstrom back up in front of them. 8th place, Thomas Michau and Alain Cottini are battling hard in the English Racing Knights car, and the SRM and TO Racing right behind them. Michau looking up the inside. Cottini, will he? Yep, stands his ground. Well, he turns in a little bit early just to try and keep track position, which he manages to do nicely as they head out onto the back straight. Is Michau going to get a run? He is. Is he going to lunge one up the inside? We saw what happened when he tried it in Bahrain. Here he goes. Can he get it stopped in time? Yes, he can. A good solid move there from Michau, and Anthony Jones has run wide in front of him, and this is going to be a three-way battle now as they head down into the S's.
Yeah, good stuff along these three cars. A fair amount of time before Thomas makes it through past Anthony Jones, but Anthony's run very strongly in the top 10 for most of the race, only holding down that 7th place. I'm sure he won't want to give it away very easily.
Battle for the lead are right together now, as I'm not really sure where to watch. Gravett has got a great slipstream on Tim Spur as they head down into the final corner at Dunlop, and look, Gravett is taking the wider line in to get the better exit in his four-wheel drive car. That could give him exactly the run he needs as he heads down over the start-finish straight. Will Tim Spur defend? There was a backmarker brigade car I saw off somewhere there. Hopefully that's not Simon Smith as Gravett brakes late for the outside. Mind the grass there, Mark. I thought he was in danger of getting a wheel on the grass and heading into oblivion, but no. So these two real close now.
Yeah, Mark was so close to putting that car in the wall there. I think he was only millimetres away from the grass, but he's all over Tim Spur like a bad suit down here. But, I think this is where the four-wheel drive is coming into its own. It's making it a bit easier to drive, although interestingly it's harder on the tyres, and it looks like Mark's got a very good exit from the inside hairpin. They're right up side by side as they come down to the final turn before the long straight. Mark Gravett he is passed all around the outside, but he can't make it stick round there. So Tim Spur holds the lead as they come down the long straight. And actually, yeah, Mark's lost quite a bit of ground, so he's not going to be able to have a go into the final turn, but he might get them into the turn 1 hairpin. There he goes, he's in perfect position. He just needs a very good exit from the turn, and I think this could be a chance, but no, I think he's a bit too far behind.
Yep, he has a little lookout anyway to try and distract him, Spur, who locks up his front right wheel, under braking for the hairpin. That's going to give Gravett a good run, but, well, it's going to be a brave manoeuvre through here. Oh, Spur's going to turn in on him there. That was always on the cards when you've got no sort of an eighth of an overlap, really, and Gravett swings to the outside to try and get the inside for the hairpin. It's not going to work, so he's definitely got the speed here today. Spur's sideways. Spur got sideways on the exit of the hairpin, and now we'll look to the outside. This is going to be a carbon copy heading down into Higgins. As what happened in the last lap, will Gravett be able to do it this time, or will he be clever and cut back? He's going to be clever and cut back, but Spur's getting good traction out of the faster corners in that BMW. Is Gravett close enough? Not quite close enough to get a tow, unless he fancies a very late lunge. He's going to look to the outside now then, and then get the cutback once again, and here we go. Here he should have him. Spur's going defensive though. Spur knows what he's doing. This is impressive driving from Tim as they come over the line to start the final lap, in fact. This is the final lap, and Gravett knows it because he's lunging up the inside and he's pushing Tim Spur, but Spur hangs on. Can Tim Spur hold on for one more lap?
It's getting very, very tight here. Mark Gravett has only got this one lap to do it, so he's got to make some kind of move count. Of these next best chance is going to be into the final, a long hairpin. He's looking at the outside of this infield hairpin and get a good cut back on the inside, which he's got. They're coming up to lap Stephen Boniface. Is he going to get in the way? No, he drives even off the track to keep out of the way. Tim Spur running extremely defensive as Mark Gravett again up onto the outside, trying to cut back inside Tim Spur. And he might have him here. He's got a nose inside, but no. Tim Spur got better traction, and it's all going to be on the final turn.
Spur blocked him off nicely there. He got very sideways in that, and Gravett's going to try and go around the outside in the final corner. That's never going to work. Surely he's going to run wide into the gravel, and Tim Spur will come across the line to win the sprint race here at Manfield after a fantastic defensive drive. A great recovery from Mark Gravett after getting a terrible start to finish in second place. Basil Ward comes home in third. Paul Joseph, for the first time this season, not on the podium. Francisco Gutierrez came home in fifth, and Thomas Michau finished in sixth, ahead of Alain Cottini, Anthony Jones, and Jesper Hagstrom. And Simon Smith finishes in 10th.
Yeah, indeed. He's going to be overjoyed with that. John Gibbons came across the line in the 11th. Mick Duncombe in 12th. Andy Griffiths has just finished in 13th. Wahab Abbas makes it back to where he started in 14th. Hans Bergander has finished 15th, with Olaf Macau coming home 16th, followed by Alfredo Chiva in 17th. Tyrone Frith in 18th, and Jenny Anderson only managing 19th position. Rounding out the point scorers is Aid Randall in the big Cadillac.
That leaves Marco Vandenbroek, who he was running a bit higher up in Bahrain. He finished 21st. Jan Hack finished 22nd. Lara Martinez finished in 23rd. 24th went to Mike Ward. 25th to Gary Gray. 26th to Roland Johansson. And then finishing a lap down were Stephen Boniface and Mark Tiller.
Well, I've got to say that was an awesome sprint race, and if the race is anything like that, we're gonna be out of breath before it gets to half distance.
Absolutely, it was difficult to even realise that we were on the last lap. It just absolutely flew by. So Basil Ward then is saying that his tyres is he saying his tyres are rooted? Does that mean that they're wrecked? I'm not too down with the slang.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think he basically wore them down to the canvas. If I can quickly look at his lap times, he did drop off quite a bit. So I think, yes, he absolutely wrecked his tyres trying to during the race there, which is not that promising for when you've got a feature race coming up where you are going to need a pit stop to change them. He's got to make them last than halfway. This is where Mark might actually have a disadvantage because the Volvo is a bit harder on its tyres. So we did note in the Division 1 race that all the Volvos had to change their tyres. They couldn't make them last at all. Only a few drivers managed to make the tyres last all the way through in Division 1. So I think we may see a surprise winner if we have someone here that can make them last all the way. It's going to be interesting to find out.
Yeah, certainly will. I know I struggled with the tyres big time in Division 1. I tried to make them last for the whole race, but epic fail on my part, and ended up having to make another pit stop right towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough one. I think as long as the car stays in balance, you're not too badly off. But it's when you get uneven wear, so if it all wears at one end or the other, then you can really start to struggle. And if you're not driving smoothly around here, you'll lose bucket loads of time.
Absolutely. So as the drivers prepare then for the second qualifying session, which will get underway pretty shortly, I'd imagine. Matt Adkin is back in the server then, and let's see his initial... It was a PC crash. It was a PC crash, so not a connection issue, but he says the PC crashed again, so that suggests he's having some sort of trouble there.
Yeah, well, if you've got issues with the hardware like that, they can be quite unpredictable. I'm just wondering if it's something like an overheating graphics card or something, which is probably the most common. Indeed, he's altered his graphics settings, so I think he's suspecting a overheating graphics card.
Yep, this mod is actually fairly easy to run. I mean, you can run it at a pretty good quality with a fairly poor computer, I've found, but maybe he's obviously pushing his a little bit too hard. 30 seconds till this next qualifying session gets underway in this photobook.co.uk Division 2 season. The second race will be, how many laps? I've forgotten. 33 laps, or 40 minutes, whichever expires first. And, well, I thought we'd hit the time limit in the sprint race, but it must have been pretty close, I'd imagine, and so whether we hit the 40 minutes here or not is anyone's guess. We'll have to just wait and see and try and keep our eyes open as we're about to move to the qualifying session now then, and of course they will be qualifying with fuel in this race, as in the fuel load is changeable. You know, you could get people running light to get high up on the grid, which I believe is what you did in Division 1, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. I was actually aiming for a top 10 result because I desperately wanted a top 10 result. The sprint race had gone terribly, so I thought the way to get top 10 was to try and start at the front and avoid the traffic jams. So I put in 10 laps of fuel and put it fourth on the grid. So I was kind of expecting to drop back a bit and actually lose some positions, but I thought I should get a top 10 out of it. But as it worked out, a lot of drivers were changing tyres, and that got me back up to the fourth place. So it can work out round here if you can make those tyres last.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll have to wait and see who can make their tyres last here today at Manfield. Because then, as ever, it's John Gibbons, first man out of the pits. Likes to get out there nice and early, and he gets a bit of extra TV time as we watch him do his first time laps. And no pressure on you, John. He's currently in 24th position before the qualifying session gets underway, so that means nothing really. I just say it so Simon can find him on the broadcast as he winds his way down to the hairpin. Second gear corner, and then out down the Denny Holm Straight, named after New Zealand's great Denny Holm, who was he world champion? I can't remember. I'm sure he won races. I don't know. My knowledge of past F1 isn't that strong. as Gibbons exits that, heads down the back straight into the Dunlop corner, which is a very, very tricky corner to get right, and it's also immensely rewarding when you hook it up perfectly. It's a real fast corner. Let's see how quick Gibbons takes it. Bear in mind this is an outlap, and well, he hasn't taken that very well. It's usually about 90 miles an hour, I would say, at the apex of that corner. So a real fast, exciting turn as Gibbons heads down into turn 1. Then Mark Tiller is coming out of the pits and just about stops. Has that put Gibbons off? I think it may have done a little bit, because he's taken turn 1 pretty averagely, to put it kindly.
Yeah, I think he took a slightly tighter line in than he really wanted to, just in case Mark did start coming out the pits, but Mark stopped before he got on track, so but John's a bit wide in the infield hairpin as well, so I'm just wondering if he's carrying quite a bit of fuel and he's getting a bit of understeer in the car around the qualifying lap, because obviously the fuel tank's at the back of the car. Benefit, of course, is you should get a little bit more traction, but on this particular track you do need the car to steer, most definitely.
And with there being pretty much no time between the end of the last race and qualifying for this one, they're all very sideways. A nice little power slide through the final corner. Let's see what this lap time is going to be for John Gibbons. Comes across the line, it's going to be a 9.7 actually, so that's not actually a bad lap from John.
No, that's going to be quite strong if he's got a full fuel load on board. So let's see who else is who's up next. Jenny Anderson is on track, and she's coming into the infield hairpins, currently showing 5th. She's on her hot lap. We're getting times coming in thick and fast now. Matt Adkin has gone 2nd with a 9.8. Roland Johansson with a 10.2. That's a very good lap time from Roland. Olaf Macau 10.8. Stephen Boniface 10.8. And Lara Martinez 11.2 are the drivers who have set a time so far.
Anderson is now 6/10 down on Tim Spur. Tim Spur has just nipped in there to take provisional pole position, so that's 7 and 1 minute 8.9. Fantastic lap from Tim Spur. That is that's the fastest lap we've seen in either of the qualifying sessions so far today. So that's impressive from him, as Anderson comes across the line to go 8th with a 1 minute 11.1. So that was obviously a bit of a poor final sector while I was watching Tim Spur take away the provisional pole. So the first man in this qualifying session into the 29s. I don't mean 29s, I mean into the 8s.
Yeah, it's quite a gauntlet that Tim's thrown down there. Faster than the sprint race pole position. Let's see what Mark Grevett has to say about that. He's just started his hot lap. He's in 19th at the moment. So let's see what answer Mark Grevett has for that.
Yep, he is. Where is he? Just there he is, coming through the Castrol S's. And he's got Hans Bergander in front of him, but I'm sure Hans will get out of the way. That was nicely taken through the Castrol S's there. And out now towards the hairpin. Hans dives off. He's a 2nd down on Tim Spur in that first sector. So I didn't see what happened in that first sector, but it must have been interesting.
Although I saw him disappear in the middle of turn 1, so whether a connection issue, he lagged out for a split second, and that might be where that second's gone. We'll have to wait and see what his other sectors are like. If he's still only a 2nd down, then I think we've found the reason.
Yep, absolutely. He's run a little bit wide in that final corner, and as he comes across the line now, he's going to set a 1 minute 10.2, only 1.2 seconds down on Tim Spur, so you're right, and in fact he's just jumped for me there as well, so perhaps a little bit of a connection issue for Mark Gravett or some sort of small computer freeze.
Yeah, I think it could be something like that. Now, who else have we got on a hot lap? Right,
Hans Bergander looks like he's the only man out there currently on a hot lap, currently in 18th position, and Mark Tiller, I believe, has got quite high ping again, I'm being informed by race control, so we'll have to see how that pans out as Hans Bergander half a second down on Tim Spur in that first sector. Made his way through the hairpin fairly nicely. Heading out onto the back straight now, and he'll wind his way through Higgins. Not quite perfect there for Hans as he exits the corner. That's an interesting corner, Higgins. You can get on the power a lot earlier than you think you can. And as he comes through, he is 1.6 seconds slower than Tim Spur, and he's locked up big time. I thought he was going to hit the grass there, but he managed to keep it in check as he comes across the line now. Let's see what his lap time will be. It'll be a 1 minute 11.1, putting him provisionally 14th. I believe Mick Duncombe is out there on a hot lap. Yes, he is. Currently in 24th. He's heading up to Higgins' corner now.
Yep, and good exit from it. So as Mick powers the Volvo down the final straight, it all rests on this one turn. It's a very tricky one, this turn. It kind of tightens and opens out all over the place. It's very hard to find the line through it, but Mick Duncombe has got a good one through there, and 6th place is the reward for that. That's an excellent time in the Volvo from Mick Duncombe, as his teammate Francisco Gutierrez is just exiting the pits to start his warm-up lap. And I see Nico de Bruyne right behind him as well. So all of the Dark Horse Racing cars out on the track.
Thomas Michau has just launched himself up into provisional second on the grid. So I don't know where his pace has come from, because he didn't have any, frankly, in the first race, but now he finds himself provisionally second. The next man on a hot lap, I believe, is Ehab Abbas. I'm just trying to find him at the moment. I'm not sure where he is. I'll find him in a moment. I'm sure he is. Nope, can't find him. Yes, I've found him now. 5th place currently, and he's obviously finished his hot lap and put himself up into 5th. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we have Jesper Hagström in 31st is warming up for his hot lap. And he's just let Abbas go, and Jesper's doing some very energetic tyre warming and try and get as much heat into those tyres as he can. Now we also have, in 25th, Francisco Gutierrez now starting his hot lap. Goes into the Casserole turn, very nice smooth line through the turn. He has his teammate Nico de Bruyne just ahead of him. He's obviously let him go, so he's got a bit of space as he comes through the S's. It's a real roller coaster of a section of corners. I absolutely love it. Just when you nail the line just right, the car bounces from one to the other. It's brilliant. And so he's coming down. He may be closer to pick up a small slipstream from Nico de Bruyne's car as they come into that final turn, final hairpin. They still might be closer. So they might be working together as teammates here to try and get a bit of a slipstream. Is Nico going to let Francisco go through? Not quite. They're both going to go through the final turn. Let's hope this doesn't backfire on them and have them hold each other up, but they've survived it. Now where's this going to put both of them? Because I think they're both on the timed lap. And Francisco Gutierrez goes up to 8th. And I'm just looking for Nico has put his car into 20th.
I believe Barry Ward has had another crash to desktop, which is a disaster for him in his situation where he is pretty quick, and hopefully that means we won't have to have the reshuffles that we had in the first race. Jesper Hagström has just come across the line to do a 1 minute 9.4, which when my timing screen updates I'll let you know where that's put him. 7th on the grid.
Yeah, and in 32nd we have I think the last car to complete the time lap will be Tyrone Frith. He's just coming down the final straight in this TTF Racing BMW. So a bit of a mystery. Not quite sure where he's going to end up. It's slightly wide in the last corner, but he comes across the line. I was looking for where he's going to pop up. Still trying to find him, and he goes into 26th.
Simon Smith popped up into 16th place at the end there as well. So once again we have down to 13th place this time, separated by 0.8 of a second. So hopefully we'll have some nice close racing again, and a few people sorting their acts together for this second race. The likes of Thomas Michau, Ihab Abbas, Alain Cortini up in 4th actually. That's a good, strong qualifying for him. And also Jan Hack, who started way down the order in the 20s previously. So a very interesting situation. And Tim Spur has obviously been spurred on, if you'll excuse the pun, from his first race victory to grab pole in this second one. And of course we must remember Mark Gravitt, the fastest man in the sprint race, down in a very solitary 15th position on the grid.
That's going to hurt. So it's going to remain to be seen whether or not he can make his way, how far he can make his way back up from there. I think it's not whether he can, I think it's how far can he get. Obviously we don't know what fuel load he's got, but hopefully he's got a decent load of fuel in there, but I suspect he will have to change his tyres. But then I am expecting most of the grid to have to change tyres, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. That's it could bring up a surprise. And we're doing a little bit of research, which I'm going to be double checking. I believe Denny Hulme was the 1967 world champion, so indeed named after a New Zealand's I think their only F1 world champion.
Yep, although of course New Zealand have contributed a lot to world motorsport. Bruce McLaren, of course, founder of McLaren F1, he was a Kiwi, and I don't know why I did the accent, really sorry about that. So the little country down there has produced their fair share of lamb, but also motorsport legends, as the weight penalties are applied. And I've just been advised not to do the hacker live on air, so I'll save that for another day.
I have a good bit of chat going on. Anthony Jones expressing his surprise that he's actually qualified in 6th place. He's really not sure where that came from. It is kind of a surprise to see him up there, but it's a very welcome one. And so let's hope he can get his another top 10 finish, because that'll just make his week.
Absolutely, if he keeps up this sort of form, he'll be popped into Division 1 next season, I'd imagine. But no, he's going to be chuffed with that, and hopefully he can get a good, strong finish with it as well. The Astra is a great little car. I really enjoyed my time in the Astra last season, but well, it just got to the stage where, because there was no one else driving the Astra, I needed someone, to compare myself against, and the only person available was Jack Keithley, who was romping away with the title, and I wasn't quite up to his level, so that is why I switched, if any of you care. But what I'm saying is, it's a great little car with good straight line speed, and the real bonus with the Astra is, if in a busy situation you get a nice big punt from behind, you just floor the throttle and you keep going straight. That is the big advantage that it has in close racing like this.
Yeah, it's shared with all the front-wheel drive cars and the Volvo as well, to an extent, with the four-wheel drive. But that you can just, as long as you keep power on, you can just pull the car out of trouble. Unlike rear-wheel drive, where you just tend to go spinning.
Yep, absolutely. As many drivers have found to their cost this season, there's a certain lack of. In fact, I'm not sure. Are there any front-wheel drives in Division 1 this year? I'm not completely sure. Certainly. Oh yeah, Freddie Fuller driving the Skoda in Division 1. Incidentally, let's have a quick mention of Division 1. Next week they will be at everyone's favourite GRC track, Jerez. I've no idea why we go there. I think the runner of GRC might have made it or something. I don't know. He certainly hasn't told us about it hundreds of thousands of times. So next week then you can tune in at this sort of time and you will see the Division 1 guys racing around Jerez. So, with about a minute and a half before this feature race gets underway, we are expecting, as we say, we are expecting people to change tyres. There were a few that made their tyres last in Division 1, but it is really tough around this circuit. And so yeah, hopefully we should see some exciting racing in this second. And a big hello to Marco van den Broek, who is watching us in his breaks from driving.
Yep, welcome back in, Marco.
Francisco Gutierrez is fastest. In fact, he set a very impressive warm-up lap time of 1 minute 9.3 there. So Francisco could be a man to watch out for as he heads down the Denny Holmes Straight, who we now know who it's named after, and we now know that he was the 1967 Formula One World Champion. So 30 seconds to go before the formation lap gets underway, and then we'll take you down through the full grid. It really is a great big turnout here. 32 drivers, 31 drivers now, I'm afraid, but a really good grid for Division 2.
Certainly is, and it's the shortest track of the season, and they're all loving it. They've been racing really, really well on it. So I think there was a few people that were drivers that were concerned about such a short track in cars that are a good bit faster than they were last season, but it hasn't proved to be a problem at all. And I think they're all having a ball out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see what's happened actually to Mark Tiller in the last race. He finished a lap down, but what happened was he went off at turn 3, I believe, missed the sector timer, and so then did a lap that wasn't recognised by the timing system, and therefore that's why he ended up a lap down, but was in the middle of battle. So that's an interesting one for Mark Tiller, because that's exactly what happened to me 3 or 4 times when we raced here back in season 5.
In which case,
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
A Division 1 sprint race when I went off around lap 1. I think I must have been quite close to missing the sector beam.
Well, 20 seconds it probably wouldn't have made any difference to your sprint race result, Mike, anyway. But
Oh, that's true.
With 15 seconds to go then, Tim Spur is lining up on the front row of the grid. Alongside him, Thomas Michau. So that's going to be an interesting battle down into turn 1. The grid here is a 2x2 sort of grid. A lot of the circuits we go to are staggered grid slots, but here we have the classic 2x2 format that's usually used for closed wheel cars. And so it is Tim Spur then on pole position to lead them away. Second place goes to Thomas Michau, the electrician from Sweden. Third place is Paul Joseph, looking to get back on the podium sooner rather than later. Fourth place for the English Racing Knights Paladins is Alain Cortini. Fifth place goes to Ihab Abbas. Sixth place, as we were alluding to earlier, Anthony Jones, a stunner of a lap from him. Seventh place, Jesper Hagström. Eighth place is Jan Hack. Ninth place is Francisco Gutierrez. 10th place goes to Mark Tiller, whose ping is acceptable at the moment, about 100. So that's fine for Mark Tiller. Let's hope it stays that way. John Gibbons, frustrated, down in 11th place. 12th for Mick Duncombe. 13th for Matt Adkin. 14th for Basil Ward. He'll be disappointed with that as well. And 15th goes to another Ward, Mike Ward.
And 16th, we have the sprint race pole position holder Mark Gravett. He's got a lot to do from back there. 17th, Simon Smith of the Backmarker Brigade, and Roland Johansson in 18th, followed by Andy Griffiths in 19th. Olaf Macau lines up 20th, followed by Stephen Boniface in 21st. Marco van den Broek in 22nd. Nico de Bruin 23rd. Hans Bergander 24th. Jenny Anderson way down in 25th place. That's a bit of a nightmare for her. Lara Martinez, her teammate, in 26th. Tyrone Frith in 27th. Aid Randall in 28th. Gary Gray in 29th. Andy Yates in 30th. And our final car on the grid is in 31st place, Paul Huggett.
Yep, he's making his way around the final corner now. The grid is so big that the leaders have already been lined up. Tim Spur was into his grid slot 30 seconds ago now, so his tyres will be cooling down, etc., etc. And yeah, as Martin Brundle likes to remind us quite often. And so Paul Huggett then, the last man to line up on the grid. 40 seconds now they've been standing on the grid, but Tim Spur will be waiting for the lights. Here they come then. The feature race at Manfield is underway. Who gets away best? It's Michau. No, it's Paul Joseph in the four-wheel drive, splitting them down the middle. This is going to be 3 abreast into turn 1. Can Spur hold the lead? Joseph has it. Joseph has it into turn 1. Jan Hack late on the brakes. Michau in the green and black car trying to hang on around the outside, but a rocket ship start from Paul Joseph means he has the lead on the first lap, and once again everyone has got through turn 1 on the tarmac.
Yep, good clean start and brilliant start from Paul Joseph. He really got the launch properly in the Volvo. There is a certain way of doing it, and he delivered it there almost perfectly. Thomas McCow holding on to second place, Tim Spur down to third, Jan Hack is moved up to fourth, Alan Cottini in fifth, Mark Tiller jumps all the way up to sixth place. It's a great start from him. Jesper Hagstrom up into seventh place. We have Abbas in now ninth, as Beza Ward jumps up past him. Francisco Gutierrez in 10th. Anthony Jones has dropped to 11th, unfortunately with the front wheel drive poor start, with John Gibbons right behind him, and he's John Gibbons having a look on the inside, although in fact Anthony Jones is having a look inside Francisco Gutierrez in front of him. It's all going on in the midfield. Mick Duncombe is behind these two looking for another way past, and Anthony Jones has just gone back past John Gibbons. Mike Ward in 14th. Mark Gravett has made up a grand total of 2 places now into 13th position.
Disaster for Alain Cottini. He's off down at turn 1. It looks like he's been collected by Mark Tiller, I think. No, he's just lost it all by himself. Apologies to Mark Tiller. Cottini just outbraked himself down into the first corner, and as a result has sent spinning out of the race. There's all sorts of tyre marks going down. This battle from Anthony Jones in 9th and then further down is absolutely raging as they head down towards Higgins. Anthony Jones has Gutierrez up the inside, and through goes Francisco Gutierrez, and behind him is John Gibbons. John Gibbons is surely about to get a little look at the inside of Jones as well, as they all head down the back straight towards the final corner. Basil Ward is under pressure as well. The lead group are fairly safely through that corner, as in fact they all are getting through nicely. I just heard a shunt. Who was that off? Mike Ward has just been off at the final corner. But let's focus on this 8-way battle for it's now Ehab Abbas in 7th place. Ehab Abbas, I thought he was going to spin there, but now Basil Ward has got alongside of him. A little bit of door handle contact as they head down into the Castrol S's. Abbas looks up the inside, he's not going to make it through there. And behind him we have Gutierrez, Gibbons, Jones, Duncombe, and Mark Gravett is only up to 13th after his poor qualifying session. And Ehab Abbas, I thought he was going to spin back across the circuit, but he didn't.
Yeah, way wide for Ehab Abbas in 9th place there, but the front two are only 0.6 of a second apart, but they're pulling out a lead over Tim Spur already. So is this an indication that Tim Spur is running heavy and the others are running lighter? But as I say, that the gap increases between the front two. So the midfield is where it's at the moment, with a huge train all the way back from about 7th place, all fighting over it now. Anyone who's
Paul Joseph does the fastest lap as 10th position. John Gibbons has Anthony Jones looking up the inside. Here comes Anthony Jones. Gibbons turns in. Jones takes a little bouncy route across the curbing on the inside. That didn't quite work out. And behind them, Mick Duncombe and Matt Adkin are now side by side for 12th place. And Mark Gravett, we believe, has left the server. Not 100% sure why. And off goes Ehab Abbas, spinning off once again, down in 12th place now. And he'll recover back onto the circuit and won't have lost that many positions. Well, 16th now. So it's all kicking off here at Manfield, and here's Anthony Jones again and John Gibbons back up to 9th place. John Gibbons has the outside line, Jones looks up the inside, and John Gibbons was a lot better on the brakes. Now let's leap forward to 4th place, because Mark Tiller and Jesper Hagström are absolutely side by side into the final corner. Tiller has the inside line, Hagström's going to hang on around the outside there. Can he get that slowed down in time? No, here comes Tiller through. Oh, big contact. Hagström's off into the gravel, just about keeps it out the wall, and Jan Hack is in there as well. So now Jan Hack is right up behind Mark Tiller, heading down into Toyota turn. He's not going to make it through though, but that was a... Oh, or is he? No, he's not, but that was a big piece of contact there between Hagström and Mark Tiller.
Yeah, Jesper just dropped his wheels into the dirt on the outside, and he nearly ended up spinning right back across the track. Just the only thing that stopped him was Mark Tiller. Unfortunately, so there's a big dent in the side of Mark Tiller's car, and he just runs slightly wide on the entry, and that gave Baz Award a chance to look down the inside. He's ended up past Jan Hack. So Barry looking to move forward.
Yep, top three all fairly straightforward out the front there, but it's the battle now for 6th with Jan Hack and Francisco Gutierrez. It is the closest one on the circuit. Gutierrez is getting a great tow from his Volvo sibling as he looks at the inside into the final corner. Both four-wheel drives, a little bit of contact there. John Gibbons in the BMW is going to say thank you very much, I'll have the momentum and I will come up your inside into the first corner. Jan, no, he's looking to the outside there, John. Look to the inside, that's the best way to overtake. Here he goes now. Can he outbrake him? Yes, he can. Can he hold the position? Yes, he can. A good, solid move there for Gibbons. Gutierrez got sideways. Look how close these three are. That's astonishing. They're all pretty much touching as they come into the Castrol corners. They're pushing each other around these corners. And Hack taking a wider line in to try and get the slingshot out. And now, is he going to look at the inside into the hairpin? He's going to try, but he's not quite close enough. And Anthony Jones is closing in on these three all the time.
Yeah, it's amazing when you start battling. You lose a lot of time very, very quickly. So you've really got to stay alert. And Anthony Jones all over the back of Jan Hack. Is he going to have a go into the hairpin here? No, he's not close enough. He's using the curves to pull himself around. Here comes Jesper Hagström. Jesper Hagström is making a very rapid recovery. He's already back past Anthony Jones there, so I kind of caught Anthony napping a bit.
Yep, absolutely. It's still Paul Joseph out in the lead. Thomas Michaud in second, third Tim Spur, fourth Mark Tiller, fifth Basil Ward, and then sixth is Francisco Gutierrez, and he is under a lot of pressure from John Gibbons, who's steamrollering his way up the field as he looks up the inside. Can't get the braking done this time, and he's just been joined by Jan Hack, and Jesper Hagström is soon to be in there, but Gibbons now under big pressure from Jan Hack, as he was at the Castrol S's on the last lap. But Hack has gone a bit wide. Gutierrez has gone wider. Gutierrez has bounced over the curves up in front. Gibbons sees his chance. He's not going to get it through, but Gutierrez is so sideways through there. He's really flinging the car into the corners as they head out onto the Denny Holm straight. The three of them, Gutierrez, Gibbons and Jan Hack, separated by nothing at all. Gibbons looks up the inside. Later on the brakes. Is he too late? Yes, he is. Gutierrez is going to take that place back up the inside as they head out onto the back straight, and I'm surprised Jan Hack didn't capitalise on that a little bit more, but it's absolute wheel-to-wheel stuff as they head down into the final corner. Gutierrez on the inside. Gibbons, can he hang on around the outside? Yes, he can, because Gutierrez is sideways, just about keeps the car in a straight line. He's pushed Gibbons, has he? I don't know, but there was definitely sideways movement from Gibbons, and here comes Jan Hack with the most momentum out of all of them. Jan Hack in the orange and red car, looking up the inside, down into Toyota, not going to make it through. Gutierrez looks up the inside of Gibbons, so this is such close racing.
Yes, this is getting quite heated now. There was a little bit of contact between Gutierrez and Gibbons out of the final turn. Luckily, they both stayed on, but they were both pushing to the absolute limits. But Francisco was very, very sideways throughout much of the previous lap, and he's looking down the outside of John Gibbons. But John's gonna hold a defensive line if he can. He's gonna know that he can get a better line than Francisco. Although Francisco using the curve there to help him pull the car around, then he's right back on John Gibbons' tail. If he can stay in the slipstream, then the Volvo's slow straight line speed is negated.
And here he comes, sideways up the inside of Gibbons. How has he managed to keep that going in the right direction? And here comes Jan Hack to get past him on the inside, and Jesper Hagstrom is going to swamp Francisco Gutierrez as well. So a brave manoeuvre from Gutierrez ends up in him losing 2 positions. Hagstrom's gone in deep. He might hit Hack here. He has hit Hack a little bit. And here comes Gutierrez back again. 3 abreast on the exit of the first corner, heading down into the Castroleses. Touch between Hack and Gutierrez as they come into this fast left-hander, and this has allowed Gibbons to break away a little bit as Gutierrez, Hack and Hagstrom all battle their way over what is 7th position. And Gary Gray's been disqualified there. And Basil Ward has lost out to Gibbons and is going to lose out to Jan Hack. I don't know what happened to Basil Ward. He must have gone off at the hairpin, because now he's under extreme pressure from the 2 Volvos. Yes, he just locked up at the hairpin.
Yeah, he's lost his front bumper as well, so that's going to be hurting in the faster turns without the downforce from the front splitter. Jan Hack right up alongside him, and Gutierrez right alongside Jan Hack. Not they're going to go 3 wide into the last turn. It doesn't fit, guys. But and Gutierrez very wide on the inside, and Jesper Hagstrom has just sailed through underneath him. So Jan Hack looking at the back of Barry Ward. Is he going to have the confidence to brake a bit later, which they can in the 4 drive, but it's not quite close enough. Going to get a very good exit. Barry Ward a little bit sideways. Jan Hack is through. Very good move. It's similar to what Mark Gravett did in the first race.
Yep, absolutely. But Basil Ward is quick, but he's also all over the curbs and has got well out of shape. Is that going to give Hagstrom an opportunity now? Gutierrez was the neatest of all of them through the hairpin as they make their way out once again onto the Denny Holmes straight. Hagstrom is getting a nice big toe off Basil Ward, but not quite going to make it through. Oh, Ward's gone in deep though. That could give Hagstrom an opportunity, and Gutierrez has been fast through that final corner, through that Higgins corner, all day. Ward goes very defensive. Hagstrom is forced to look to the outside. You can see how lights come on for Barry Ward. Basil Ward is about to pit.
Yeah, so Barry Ward's going to be the first into the pits. I'll stay with him into the pits and see what he does. Is he going to opt to repair the damage? Or is he going to try and carry that through the rest of the race? It will cost him a little bit of time repairing the damage.
Paul Joseph is romping clear at the front of this race. He has now got a 2.2 second lead over Thomas Michau. And Aid Randall, just to keep you up to date, I think he had a collision on the start line because he had a puncture and pitted on the first lap. He had a puncture by the time he got to turn 1, so I'd imagine he had some sort of collision, perhaps on the warm-up lap even, but he has now left the service. So that's a shame for Aid. So as they spread out a bit, let's take you down the order a bit. Did Basil Ward repair that damage, Mike?
It looks like he has. He's also changed tyres and refueled. It's a long pit stop for Barry Ward, but that will be his only one. He should make his way to the end. So, but yes, damage repaired, and he's back out on track. But I think he's now basically right down at the back. Yes, indeed he is.
Although wasn't Basil Ward one of the drivers who complained that his tyres were absolutely shot after just 17 laps? And he's got, how many has he got to go here? 21 laps to go, so well, he's going to be struggling come the end of the race. So let's give you a quick rundown then as things calm down. Paul Joseph leads. Thomas Michau is in second with Tim Spur only 0.8 of a second, if that, sorry, I can't even do my maths. No, about that, behind. Fourth is Mark Tiller. Fifth now is John Gibbons. Sixth is Jan Hack under close pressure from Jesper Hagstrom. Then it's Francisco Gutierrez in 8th place. 9th is Mick Duncombe. 10th is Simon Smith up in the top 10 again, Simon. Brilliant work. Ehab Abbas in 11th. Andy Griffiths in 12th. Olaf Michau running strongly in 13th. 14th is Jenny Anderson. 15th is Matt Adkins. 16th is Anthony Jones. 17th is Marco Vandenbroek. 18th is Roland Johansson. 19th Lara Martinez. 20 Tyrone Frith. Then it's Nico de Bruyne and others. But in 6th place, Jan Hack, as we are seeing here, is coming under pressure from Jesper Hagstrom as they head down into the final corner. We'll complete our rundown in a little bit. Let's just watch this action as Hagstrom tries to get his nose in, but he's not quite able to do it as they head out onto the start-finish straight once again. I can see Hans Bergander is also in the pits as they make their way down into turn 1. Hagström looks quite strong on the brakes actually in that BMW, and he's closed in a lot over Jan Hack there as they head out towards the Castrol S's. He's going to make it through. He's closed in quite a bit there, Jesper Hagström. He's certainly looking quite racy compared to Jan Hack. And Hack takes a tight line on the exit. Is Hagström going to be able to get a tow then as they head down the back straight? It's BMW versus Volvo. Not many Lexi in Division 1. Oh, here comes Hagström. I thought he was going to go for a lunge there, but not quite, as they head off down the back straight now once more. The battle for second is pretty tight as well, but let's just focus on this for the moment, because this is where an overtake could occur. Hagström's got a great tow up the inside of Jan Hack into the final corner. I think one of them was hitting the rev limiter there. I'm not sure who it was. I think it could have been Hagström. And Jan Hack has managed to hold on all the way around the outside, but he could be coming under more pressure as they head down the start-finish straight down into Toyota once more. Hagström looks at the inside. He knows he's better on the brakes, but he's not that good to get past there.
It's shaping up to be an interesting little battle. Jesper Hagström, I think, the faster of the two if he could get past Jan Hack, but Jan's an experienced campaigner and he knows exactly where to put his car to make it as difficult as possible for Jesper to find a way through. Now they're coming up to lap, I think Alain Coty, no, it's Mike Ward. They're coming to lap Mike Ward in the English Racing Knights Lexus, so he should be letting them through any moment now. Is he just going to run a bit wide? Yes, he is, and lets them through. And battle continues.
Yep, Hagström in the slipstream. Not quite close enough, I don't think, as they head down into the final corner. Indeed he's not. He's going to have to try and focus on getting a good run out of this corner, which he's got a reasonable one in the BMW, as we saw in Bahrain. Quick in a straight line. Here he comes, sucks right up to the back of Hack, and looks to the outside. Oh, he's hit the wall there, has he, Jesper? And then goes back to the inside contact. Off goes Hack into the tyre barrier, and, well, he could be able to continue. And, well, that was an interesting decision which side to go there for Jesper Hagström, and they've also, quite perhaps importantly, knocked out the 50-metre brake border. That could catch out a few drivers.
It certainly could, although you should be braking a bit before that. Unfortunately, with that, as what a Jan Hack now touring around with damage. I think he's picked up a puncture in that, so that is quite disastrous for Jan Hack's race, but it gives him it kind of forces his pit stop on him now. If he can get back around to the pits, his four-wheel drive will help out a little bit there. I think it's a rear puncture that he's got, so not quite as bad as a front one.
Yep, he went into the barrier backwards. So, battle for second place. Michau is about to be under attack from Tim Spur. We've cut to this just at the right moment. Tim Spur takes second place from Thomas Michau. Michau cuts back and is back into second as they come towards the S's. Well, that was a brave move up the inside from Spur, but he couldn't quite get it slowed down enough as they come through this left-hander at the S's. Spur is looking racy after his win in race one. He's too racy and he's on the grass. Don't go across there, Tim. You need to come back and try and get through that. Well, this is going to be interesting. Has he made the second sector split? This could be crucial for the race.
Yeah, if he's missed that timing beam, he's going to be suddenly find himself a lap down on everybody. And as I'm looking into the pit lane, Anthony Jones is making his pit stop, and Jan Hack has made it back to the pits. So I'm keeping my eyes out for who else will be pitting, because they'll be all come flooding in any minute now, I would think.
Yep, Paul Huggett I've just seen in the gravel out the corner of my eye, but Tim Spur is now under pressure from Mark Tiller. But more importantly, will Tim Spur clock the timing beam as he goes through this time? Yes, luckily for him he does, but he's now under pressure from Mark Tiller as Jan Hack emerges in front of them. And so now Mark Tiller is in a Psycho Racing sandwich as he comes. Paul Joseph struggling with back markers a little bit there, but so that pretty much releases Thomas Michau in second place. He's now fairly comfortable, And now the battle for third is the one that's going to be exciting with Spur, Tiller and Gibbons.
Yes, indeed. No more stoppers as yet, but it's certainly looking a very close fight. Third, fourth and fifth is going to be battle joined. Yeah, and through all of this, as the pit stops start to happen, Simon Smith is up in 8th place. Now, he's supposed to be a back marker. What are you doing up there, Simon?
He's done the old switcheroo and ended up in 8th position, as Michal then is in the pits, as is Paul Joseph. Here they come.
And Anthony Jones is in again, so is that a drive-through penalty for Anthony Jones or a stop-go as he picked up some damage? Or as he missed doing something? He's making another stop. Thomas Macau also in the pits. See who's going to leave first. Thomas Macau is underway and Paul Joseph is underway, so positions are maintained at the front, or at least they should be when it all pans out, and Anthony Jones also out of the pits after his second stop.
Yep, Simon Smith then up into 6th position at the moment. Maybe someone should take a screenshot of this momentous occasion. Paul Joseph has left his lights on. He needs to turn them off at some point. But Tim Spur actually I don't think is going to be under pressure for what will ultimately be third, because he's got the pace over Mark Tiller and his teammate John Gibbons. So that is that, I believe. And Michal was very slow out of the pit lane, but he doesn't seem to be too far behind Paul Joseph anymore. How far behind is he? Let me have a look. It hasn't sorted itself out yet. As race leader Tim Spur comes into the pits, and John Gibbons. And Paul Huggett is out with, and is Gibbons sharing Spur's pit box there? He's pulled alongside. Oh, this could be a disaster.
I think they are both getting pitted at the same time. If you park halfway in the box, oh no they aren't. John Gibbons has had to wait. He wasn't able to get into the pit box, so that is a disaster. Oh no, he's away. So, or has he decided just to go around again? I'm not quite sure whether he actually got pit
He's gone to a
service
different
there.
pit box. He's now driven further down the pit lane to go into a different pit box. What a curious incident there.
That's bizarre. I've never seen that done before.
And so unless he just assumed that he had the same pit box as Tim, that can be the only thing I can possibly think of, really. There's an English Racing Knights car off on the infield. Who is that? It's Mike Ward, so he was running fairly low down anyway, but that can be the only thing I could possibly think of.
Yeah, it sounds reasonable that you would assume that you're in the same pit box as your teammate, but it's not always the case with R Factor. Hopefully something they'll be addressing in R Factor too. Simon Smith only just makes the pit entrance. Nearly ended up stacking it into the tyres there. As a very ambitious pit entry from Simon. Let's see what he's doing. Stops on his mark there as Tyrone Frith leaves the pit lane. So now we'll see where Simon ends up when it all shakes out. He's down to 11th already. And it is a long stop, so it'll be tyres and fuel. Hopefully no damage along the way, and he's back underway. And that puts Simon Smith down to about 14th place. So I think that's a net win, I think. Mark Tiller coming into the pits.
Barry Ward has just spun off again. Yep, Barry Ward has just spun off again as he came out just behind Simon Smith, so it's not going a good day. Sorry, Basil Ward, it's not a good day for him so far today. Out at the front then, leading the race, Hagstrom and Tiller are both in the pits, but Francisco Gutierrez is still out there lapping, so I wonder if this strategy will play into his hands as Mark Tiller exits. Let's see where he exits. He was battling... Mark Tiller has come out. Mark Tiller can't have changed tyres because he's come out right behind Paul Joseph.
Big gamble for Mark Tiller. I hope he's I hope he's worked out that he can make the tyres last, but yes indeed, right behind Paul Joseph in 4th place. So this is going to be interesting. Obviously Paul Joseph is going to be on fresh tyres and Mark Tiller will be on some very tired ones when they get to the end of the race.
Yep, I doubt Tiller will be going for the win, but this certainly could gain him a couple of positions with this strategy. As we saw, it was a 7-second pit stop for Mark, so clearly just fuel going in to that car. So that's very interesting, because he was battling with the likes of Tim Spur and the Psycho Racing cars. So interesting. Where's John Gibbons gone? Oh yeah, of course he had that pit stop error, didn't he? Sorry, my bad. So, as the things start to shake themselves out, it's Gutierrez still in the lead, with Mick Duncombe in 2nd. So the Dark Horse Racing team, well, it's a 1-2-3 at the moment, but Gutierrez and Duncombe yet to make their pit stops. And, well, Duncombe's going to be slowing Paul Joseph up, actually, but certainly Mark Tiller cannot keep the pace with Paul Joseph.
No, I can't, and I was just going to see how long it takes Paul Joseph to get past Mick Duncombe. He's one of his teammates, of course, and there he goes on the inside into the infield hairpin, and that I think should be a pass as they come up to lap ND Yates. Although it isn't, because Mick Duncombe's still ahead, so not as straightforward as I thought there.
Yeah, he got a great run out of that hairpin there, did Mick Duncombe. Surely now Paul Joseph, yep, there goes Duncombe, flashes his lights, through goes Paul Joseph into the lead of the race. So sensible teamwork there. Joseph isn't really under any pressure from anyone really to win this race.
Yeah, of course, Francisco Gutierrez is still out in the lead at the moment, because he's yet to pit. Now he's coming up behind Marco Vandenbrecker. Oh, a bit of contact there. Marco Vandenbrecker and Jan Hack, as Francisco Gutierrez comes around to lap them, and he's got a little tied up with with Marco there. So he's got a 22-second lead. So I think he will end up back in a top 10 position once he finally makes the pit stop, which I would say he can't be far away from it now.
Yep, if not his fuel is running low, then certainly his tyres will be. You were telling us earlier, Mike, that the four-wheel drives use their tyres a lot more, but he's staying out once again, is Francisco. Crosses the start-finish line. It is, of course, inevitable that he will pit. There is no way he can get to the end of this race with a full fuel tank. That is why the race distances were slightly extended, to avoid anything like that happening. So Paul Joseph running in a comfortable second, but what is ultimately the lead. The closest action we have on the circuit is back in 7th place. Jenny Anderson, who is yet to make her pit stop, is under pressure from Matt Adkin, who I presume has, I'll just double check. Did he make a very early pit stop perhaps? I can't quite remember. Someone made an early pit stop, that's for sure. It was Basil Ward who made the early pit stop. But here comes Anderson and Adkin then, battling away, heading down towards the S's. Adkin unsure which way to look. It's not really an overtaking opportunity through here. Oh, Anderson very sideways. Francisco Gutierrez has got his headlamps on then. He's going to be diving into the pits on the exit of this corner. Here he goes. Let's see if he can slow the car down in time. Very cautious into there, actually. It is a bloomin' dangerous pit stop here at Manfield. Gutierrez stops. Is this going to be tyres? Don't think it is it? Didn't see the car go up on the jacks. No,
he isn't. That's fuel only. That is a gamble with the four-wheel drive. I thought they were all going to be pretty marginal on tyres. So that's a big gamble from Francisco Gutierrez, and I think this
he's
is going
come
to
out in the lead. Oh no!
He's come out back out in the lead.
Paul Joseph. Sorry, Mike. Right in front of Paul Joseph, but Francisco Gutierrez has somehow come out in the lead of this race. And there was contact between him and Joseph. Now, I really don't believe Gutierrez will be able to hold on to the lead of this race. Joseph will just have far too much grip, and I'm sure will ease past. But as for Mark Tiller, and, well, I don't think Tiller will catch up because he hasn't changed tyres either then. So this is looking like a possible podium now for Gutierrez as they head down into Higgins. Gutierrez breaks a little bit late. He's going to be struggling with the grip. I'd imagine Joseph will get past.
I can't see how he can fail. It's Paul Joseph's tyres simply won't have as many miles on them, and I think it's only a matter of time before Paul Joseph gets past. But it's just going to be a question of how far will Francisco go back down the field. I think he's on for at least, at the very worst, a top 5. Did I see Thomas Macau have a spin back there? No, that must have been just a little trick of the camera angle. So Thomas Macau is currently holding down 5th place, and he's 6 seconds off the lead. So it's going to be interesting seeing how Francisco can hold on. If he can make those tyres last on the Volvo all the way to the end and defend from Paul Joseph, then he is in contention for the win. But I don't see how he can hang on against Paul's fresher tyres.
And it's the defending from Joseph that will wreck his tyres. Here comes Paul Joseph in the red and black car up the inside. A little bit of contact there from Gutierrez, but Paul Joseph rather inevitably takes the lead there, I believe. And so he is through back into the lead of this race, but a great strategy from Gutierrez. It's looking like he's looking up the inside there into the final corner. Oh, and look, he can't get any grip with those old tyres. So he needs to stop battling and start just driving as smoothly as possible. Nico de Bruyne, another late pit stopper. Mick Duncombe actually is still out in 3rd position, so I'd imagine he could come out in the top 10 when he makes his pit stop, because presumably he won't bother changing tyres either.
Maybe not, although he did have a very slow lap, which could indicate a spin, so that might make it a bit marginal. But yes, Mick Duncombe is on for a solid top 10 position, I think. Currently 10th is Alan Coutinho, who's about 30 seconds behind, so I believe Mick Duncombe will probably slot back in there.
Still, the closest battle is between Anderson and Hagstrom. They're still having it out over 7th place. They're side by side coming down the Denny Holm straight, down into Higgins once again. I'd be surprised if Hagstrom can hang on around the outside. He's going to give it a go, and he has done it. Brilliant move from Jesper Hagstrom. That is one of the bonuses of this Manfield circuit, is that a lot of the corners have pretty steep gradients, so sort of almost NASCAR style, you can hang on around the outside. On the high line, there's a car off who looks like Basil Ward, on the infield. I'll just go and check that. It is Basil Ward. He's had another spin, so he has dropped even further down the order, down to 25th, so a nightmare today for Basil Ward.
Sadly true. And Francisco Gutierrez is hanging on surprisingly well. He's maintaining a decent gap over the cars behind, so if he can keep that up, then I think he's on. He could be on for a podium. Although Roland Johansson is having a look at unlapping himself again immediately after he's passed him. So I think Francisco is going to start struggling anytime soon.
Yep, I'd imagine so. But we're on lap 20. Well, Joseph is about to start lap 29 out of 33. So we haven't got that long to go, and I'm not quite sure how much time we have left. So there's a chance that as we start lap 29, 5 laps to go. Just a quick little bit of mental calculation. Mick Duncombe in the pits then. Here comes Mick Duncombe. Let's see if he changes tyres. He does! That's a strange decision with only 5 laps to go. He must have really abused them to not be able to make them last the last 5 laps. So that won't work out quite as Mick intended, but no doubt could... Oh, that was a bizarre little stutter. Did he stop there to keep out of Jenny Anderson's way? I'm not quite sure. And Barry Ward has just messaged me on in-game saying that the car is... Well, I can't use that word. The car is messed up, he has told me, and has now left the race.
So that little bit of last bit of pit action has shaken out the final standing. So we have Paul Joseph in the lead, Francisco Gutierrez in second, Mark Tiller currently running third, Thomas Macau in fourth, who is now right up behind Mark Tiller, so he's gaining fast. Tim Spur is holding fifth place with Matt Adkin in sixth. Jesper Hagström has recovered back to seventh place. Alan Coutinho has got himself back up into the top 10 in 8th, and Simon Smith, and look at this again, is back in the top 10. We need to rename his team from Backmarker Racing. Jenny Anderson is holding down the 10th position, with Mick Duncombe right behind her after he's come out from his pit stop.
Yep, disgraceful driving from Simon Smith to be so high up the grid, but the battle for the third and the final podium position is the hot one at the moment. Gutierrez is right with Joseph, that's bizarre, but the battle for third is the one where it's all kicking off. It's the Lexus of Mark Tiller versus the green and black BMW of Thomas Michau as they head down into Higgins. Michau gets the cutback, not enough pace though. The Lexus is a good strong car around most circuits. There has been some talk that it's not equal, blah 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 blah, but Mark Tiller is showing that it is pretty strong as they head down into the final corner. Remember, Tiller hasn't changed tyres, Thomas Michau has, so as they come across the line to start lap 31 out of 33 now. Here comes Michau. Is he going to have a look up the inside? He is. He's not close enough. No, Tiller's locked up. Well, I thought that was Michau's chance. Gutierrez is struggling. Look how close. Look how quickly they've sucked in Gutierrez. He must have had a really slow last lap.
And Gutierrez had a 1 minute 13 second lap, so he either just made a mistake or the tyres are reaching their limits, and he's going to start making more. And oh yes, he locked up even more, and so did Mark Tiller. Mark Tiller was off, bouncing through the gravel, and there's Roland Johansson. Oh, he nearly goes straight to the side of Roland Johansson, so that's another place down for Mark Tiller. So it's all happening there. And Francisco is still hanging on to second place, but the car is obviously showing signs that the tyres have passed it now.
And through it all came Tim Spur to launch his way up into fourth place. So let's see now the battle now for second between Gutierrez and Michau. Surely Michau will be back up into second by the end of this race, although they are coming across the line to start the penultimate lap. So lap 32 and lap 33 remain. Michau, will he lunge it up the inside? He will. Gutierrez turns in and makes the corner. Still ahead. This is going to be a tough ask for Gutierrez to keep Thomas Michau, championship leader, behind him for the remaining 2 laps. Oh, but Michau is getting a bit frustrated now, isn't he? He's lunging everywhere he can see. He needs a bit of patience. Just have a little patience.
Francisco tyres are gone. His last lap was a 1 minute 11. He's really starting to struggle. He's got another lap to make yet. So with Thomas Macau all over him, Mick Duncombe has just set the fastest lap of the race on his brand new tyres on a low fuel load. So there we go. That's the pace that the Volvo's can run at. But here comes Thomas Macau right in the slipstream.
Michau dives out. He will get a point, I think, Mick Duncombe, but Michau has got his eyes on second place. Bit wobbly. Gutierrez, though, won't be able to do anything about it. Look at... Ooh! Gutierrez flashed his lights there at Michau. Michau flashes them back. Now, is that a thank you, bye-bye, or is that a oi, you shouldn't have done that to me, you pillock?
Yeah. Perhaps a little bit of both, but... it was okay. It's a tough pass into that turn, but it was one of the only places left for Thomas to have a go, and they made it through okay. But Gutierrez really struggling now. Let's see what his times were. He's back into the 110s, so he's recovered a little bit of time, but he's starting to struggle.
Simon Smith, I think, is also struggling. He's down into 12th position at the moment as he starts his final lap. But this race has all been about the leader, Paul Joseph. He got an absolutely rocket start from the second row of the grid, spliced the 2 front row sitters at the first corner, and he exits the final corner now to come across the line to take the feature race victory here at Manfield. And it's a brilliant victory for Paul Joseph. He will be delighted with that. A dominant 7-second victory for Paul. An absolutely brilliant result, 6.7 seconds, what the heck. Francisco Gutierrez bringing home a brilliant third. A good strategy from him. Thomas Michau started second, finished second. Tim Spur took fourth place after the spinnings of Mark Tiller and someone else. So, sixth place went to Jesper Hagström. Seventh place for Alain Cossini. And that's a pretty solid result for him. Francisco Gutierrez has left the garage straight away. He's left the game straight away, so he's not in the mood to hang around and chat. So I wonder if he is a bit angry with how Michau made his move.
It certainly didn't seem to be too bad. I mean, the contact wasn't what made the pass happen, so I think I would be kind of put that down to racing into him, but it might have been something that happened earlier on. We're not quite sure unless he tells us.
Let's finish down the order then. Matt Adkin finished in 8th place. Mick Duncombe, setting the fastest lap along the Ray, finished in 9th. Jenny Anderson finished in 10th actually, so she started down in 16th or something, so I think she'll be pretty happy with that. 11th place goes to John Gibbons. He won't be happy with that, I don't think, after running pretty high up the order early on before a spin whilst battling for the podiums. 12th place goes to Simon Smith. 13th place to Jan Hack. 14th to Ehab Abbas. 15th to Andy Griffiths. 16th to Marco Vandenbroek, 17th to Olaf Michau, 18th to Nico de Bruyne, 19th to Mike Ward, 20th and a point for Roland Johansson, great news for him, 21st Tyrone Frith, 22nd Anthony Jones, so a race that promised so much hasn't quite turned out the way that Anthony wanted. 23rd was Lara Martinez, 24th Stephen Boniface, these guys are a lap down now, 25th Hans Bergander, 26th and finishing was Andy Yates, and he was the last of the finishers. Barry Ward, Paul Huggett, Mark Gravitt and Aid Randall didn't make it to the end of the race, and Gary Gray got disqualified on lap 4, so presumably he spun across the track and ended up going the wrong way or something like that, I'd imagine. So we are, what am I trying to say? We are just waiting for some drivers to come up and have a little chat with us here, which should give us some interesting insight. No doubt Simon Smith will be along to tell us his stories of his exciting escapades in the Gentlemen's Racing Club this evening. As Jesper Hagström is here too. I wonder if he'll talk. I don't know if he talks or if he just listens. We have some people who come up into the booth and just want to listen. So that's fine. But I end up asking them questions and then they rather reluctantly have to answer them. So let's give it a few moments. So Mike, overall, 2 brilliant races again from Division 2 with drama throughout.
Absolutely. It's been all action throughout both the races, but race 2 in particular was very interesting strategy-wise. How Francisco made that strategy work. I thought that the Volvo would surely destroy its tyres and virtually demand a change, but he made them last. And well done to him for a well-deserved podium.
Absolutely. So, as I promised, we are joined in the booth by the one and only Simon Smith, fresh from his Skoda cockpit. Simon, pretty high results there.
I was a little bit shocked. Thank you. That to everyone. I had great races. I was so excited that I saw myself in 9th place on the last couple of laps of race 2. Mick was behind me, and I was all panicking. And my glasses had been sliding down my nose all race, but I hadn't had the chance to push him back up. And I kind of went, last corner, and my head shook and my glasses fell off. So that's why I went off on the last lap and dropped to 12.
Brilliant. Only you, Simon. Only you. But overall, a pretty impressive race. You're really seeming to be hooked in with the Skoda in GRC this season.
It's the other person I have to thank. I don't know who it is, but they're posting Volvo setups on the forum, so I'm yoinking those and just putting my own little settings on from other races, like steering columns and things like that. So whoever that is, thank you. But I love these cars; these are great.
So, well, thank you, Simon, for joining us. Unfortunately, due to some of the incidents in race 1, we're running a little bit late here today. So, final thoughts from Mike Wrightson, who's joined me in the commentary box today. Mike, hopefully we'll have the same action at Jerez.
Well, I think so. We saw good races last season in Jerez, so it seems to be a track that's very conducive to good racing. So I think we've got a good racing prospect.
Absolutely. So you can see the first race in Jerez this time next week, which will be the Division 1 race, and then the photobook.co.uk Division 2 Championship will head there in a fortnight's time. So thank you to Mike Wrightson for joining me here in the box. Simon Melliwish has been doing the cameras, etc., etc. Thanks to PSR TV. He's been doing the cameras and abusing me through the whisper settings. And thanks to everyone at PSR TV for making this possible. Good night.